Hello and welcome to Untwist Your Stitches, a Flosstube channel about my cross stitching and other crafting endeavors. My name is Rose and this is a Flosstube. I guess you would call it an extra. It's a companion to my question and answer Flosstube for I believe it's number 46 was the last time I did this. There were some other questions that came up about cross stitching and likes, dislikes, just general things. So this is another get to know the crafter kind of video, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's get started with question number 1. And it is, do you have a favorite pair of scissors? Now, I have a lot of scissors. I have one for each project that is a whip, and then I have spares that are just waiting for me to change them out or whatever. So I'm going to show you a few of the ones that I have. This first one is an iridescent. I just like the colors of it, and it was just kind of fun to have. This one has some pretty inlay on it, and yeah, it's just the fanciness here is nice. This one has where it's easier to get your fingers in. And I really like that because sometimes the holes are a little bit small for me. But, and it's nice and sharp. It has a nice pointed edge to it. But that's another one. And let's see, what is, I believe those are dragons. If you can see. They're kind of hard to see, but I believe those are dragons that are in there. And then these are my two favorites, and I just like them because of the sharpness of them and how easy they are to fit in any project that I have. And they're just these black ones. One's a little bit larger than the other one. I like the larger one because I can get my fingers in there, but I like the smaller one because it fits in any size project bag that I have, or I can just throw it into my purse or whatever. But these are my two favorite scissors. They don't have a name on them, so I can't give you the name. I believe I got them on Amazon. Oh, just a minute. There is it's a Halo Force is the name. I just saw it on the blade of this one, but yeah, so these are my favorite, and I'm pretty sure that I got these on Amazon. So those are my favorite scissors. Question number 2 is, do you have a favorite needle, and what brand and size is it that you like? I used to use DMC needles, but the last couple packages that I bought, they didn't hold up. The eye of the needle kept breaking on me. So I looked around and I tried John James, and they were okay, but I don't know, there was just something about them that I didn't really care for. So the brand that I now use a lot of are these Bowens, and the size that I use is a 26. Now, I can use 26 on pretty much everything that I stitch. I've used it on up to 20 count Aida, and it goes through just fine. And I used it on 28 and 32 count linen, and it goes through no problem. It's got a big enough head that, you know, 2-3 threads is easy to get through the eye, and it's become my favorite needle to use. So then number 3, do you enjoy when your patterns have beading in them? Now, I do love the Mill Hill kits, both the little small ones and the, what do they call them, buttons and beads, or buttons and bows, button and beads, Mill Hills. And I really do like them. However, I do not like doing beading. So a lot of times I will look at the color of the beads and I'll either change it to a metallic if I think it needs sparkle, or I'll just use the DMC equivalent that would be for that color. But I do like a few beads, but I don't like an enormous amount. And it's the same way with the Mirabilias and Nora Corbett patterns. A lot of times I will just change where she calls for a bead to a metallic thread and get the sparkle from that, because I'm just not a big fan of doing beading. So then that brings me to, do you enjoy metallic threads? And which ones do you like? Do you like Krynic? Do you like treasure braid? Do you like glisten gloss? What kind of metallic threads do you like? My favorite, because this is what I started with when I first started stitching, is the Krynic. And I like the blending filament. I like the number 4s. I like the braid. I like everything about the Krynic. Now, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Krynic, but I am. And my worst metallic that I've ever used is the DMC. It's stiff. It breaks. It doesn't flow through your fabric worth a darn, even when it's been covered in what they call thread conditioner or beeswax or whatever. I do not like the metallic DMC. Now, I'll use it once in a while because it's the only color that I want to use for a specific pattern. But there are a lot of not very nice comments when I'm using it. I will use it once in a while, but for the majority of the time, I do not like DMC floss, metallic. Number 5 is, have you ever used waist canvas and did you enjoy it? When I very first started cross stitching, my very first project was on waist canvas. I was doing it as a something that my mom needed me to do, and my sister and I went to, this is back when they still had them, the Benjamin Franklin stores, and the lady that helped us figure out what we needed to do for the project that we were working on suggested the DMC, or suggested the waist canvas because it was going to work with what we needed it to do. Now, in my very first video, I explained how I got into cross stitch and the whole story. So if you want to hear the whole story about how I became a cross stitcher, you can go to my very first Flosstube and I explain the whole thing. But yes, I have used waist canvas. I do it often and I enjoy what it looks like when it's finished. For me, it's enjoyable. Okay, so then number 6. Do you have a favorite way to start your threads? Do you use the pin stitch? Do you use the loop start? Have you ever tried the tail stitch? Oh, no way not. What way do you enjoy starting your threads? My personal favorite, if I can make it work, is with the loop start. And this is what I'm talking about is the very first stitch you put into a project. Now, once you go from there, then it makes it a lot easier because you can just run your needle under the previous stitches and go from there. But I'm talking about your very first stitch, or if you need to start it in a different area. And like I said, my favorite is the loop start. And a lot of times I will, even if I have a shorter piece of thread that has already been used, I'll get a new thread and start the loop with that. And then once that's used up, I'll go back to the one that was partially used, because it's just so much easier for me to do it with the loop start than any other way I've found. And of course, that's if you're using 2, 4, or 6 threads, you know, an even number of threads. If you're using an odd number of threads, obviously you're not going to be able to use the loop start. Although I have seen a couple of videos where they say they use the loop start with their one strand. I don't know how it works very well, because pretty much everything I do is 2-stranded, or, you know, even number of strands, 2, 4, that kind of thing. But yeah, they do say that you can do a loop start with an odd number of threads. Number 7, do you sal? Sal is stitch along, or some people call it start along, because they don't keep up with some of the other people that are doing it, so they call it a start along. But do you enjoy doing stitch alongs? Do you enjoy doing the same pattern that others are doing, and then share how you're progressing differently, or if you've used a different color of background fabric, or if you've changed part of the pattern? Do you like doing the sals? Is that something that helps you keep motivated? Does it make it fun for you to say, oh, look at how much I've done, and where are you starting, and here's how I'm starting? So do you sal? I have done a few sals. I'm currently in the birthday sal with Melanie. I don't know if she's still doing it. I assume she is, but it was for her birthday, and it is the Cardinal Creations, or the Winter Cardinal, what's it called? Anyway, it's the Cardinal from Cottage Gardens samplers, and I am doing that. But for the most part, the way that I stitch doesn't really coincide with how a sal works, even though some people call it start along. If I'm going to do a sal, I want to try to keep up with how the others are getting along with theirs, and that doesn't really work with the style that I stitch in. Number 8 is, do you do your stitching as gifts for family and friends, or are they mainly for yourself and your home? When I first started cross stitching, pretty much everything I stitched was a gift for someone. Now, and I've been doing this 30 some odd years, 30 plus, pretty close to 38 years now. The majority of my beginning stitches were all given as gifts. That's the reason that I started cross stitching, is so that I could give family, friends, that kind of thing, a personalized gift from myself to them that meant a lot to me to give to them. Now, I know a lot of people are very disappointed when they've given gifts out because people don't seem to appreciate them, but you know, that's going to happen no matter what gift you're giving. There's going to be some people that no matter what you give them, they're not going to appreciate it. So for me personally, it is from the heart. I think about that person as I'm doing the stitching, And I still enjoy giving them, I guess right now it's probably about 50-50. 50% of the stuff I keep, 50% I give as gifts. Number 9, how many crafting hobbies do you have other than cross stitch? Now these can include sewing / quilting, knitting, crocheting, embroidery, punch needle, felt stitching, paper crafts, any other craft that you do. I personally, I'm a sewer. I do know how to knit, but I don't do it very often because I find it so slow. I do enjoy crocheting. I enjoy the embroidery because of all of the specialty stitches that you can use. I've never tried punch needle, and at this point in time, I do not plan on it because I don't want to add all of the extras, the accessories that you need in order to do punch needle. And as much as I enjoy it, seeing it, it just doesn't intrigue me at this time. And then I'm not big on the felt stitching because a lot of it is with wool, and I'm allergic to wool. It makes me break out, so I can't use it. And I have done paper craft in the past, but I haven't done a lot of it lately. So I would say just the sewing, crocheting, embroidery are the ones I do other than cross stitch. But my main enjoyment is my cross stitch and sewing projects. Number 10, how old were you when you specifically started cross stitching? Now, when I was younger, I did a lot of embroidery. I did what they called chicken scratch. You can look that up. It was really fun. It's done on gingham fabric. But I was 22 or 23 when I started cross stitching. And as I said before, if you want to know the story of how I got into cross stitch, my video number 1 explains what happened, how I got into it, what I did, and all that kind of stuff. So go back to video number 1. It's right at the beginning. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but it tells you about cross stitching and how I got into it. And yeah, I was 22 or 23 years old before I started my first cross stitch. Number 11, where do you do your stitching mainly? Not, when you're in the car, of course, that's a travel project. I don't consider that your main cross stitching, but maybe for you it would be. For what I'm talking about is, do you have a craft room where you've got a chair set up and that's where you do most of it? Is it in your living room? I've heard other people say that they mainly cross stitch in their bedroom on their bed. I would not want to do that because dropping a needle and not being able to find it in my bed would terrify me because I would be afraid of, turning over and sticking myself with the pin and waking up screaming. But for myself, I have a setup in my living room, my chair, my table, the whole thing. And yeah, that's where I do the majority of my stitching. Now, to go along with that, my next question is, what do you have at your stitching station? Do you have a table? Do you have a specific chair? Do you have pillows? Do you have a specific light that you have? Is it a mag light? What else? Is there a TV there, or a radio, your phone, whatever, where you listen to stuff? I will take a picture of my stitching spot and I will insert it so that you can see how mine is. But I've got 2 tables. I've got a mag light that clips onto one of the tables. My chair is kind of like a love seat kind of thing, but it's not quite as big as a love seat. It's between a really wide chair and a love seat so that someone can sit next to me, because the majority of the time both of my dogs are right there with me when I'm stitching. So yeah, I'll take a picture and show it to you. Number 13, do you enter your finished cross stitches into competitions / fairs? I don't, because I do this for enjoyment. And I am critical of my own stitching, but I also know what I like. And what I like isn't always something that equates to a good showing at a competition. And like I said, I do this for my enjoyment. I don't do it to compete with someone else and to have someone else go through and look closely at it and say, well, you didn't railroad this stitch and it looks a little off, or the way that your stitches are laid. Well, maybe I did that specifically because of the pattern that I'm working on. Because I've done a few patterns where I've crossed the stitches in a different direction so that it would give dimension to the pattern. Now, it didn't call for it in the pattern, but for me personally, the way I wanted it to look in the end, crossing the stitches in a different direction really made it stand out. So my stitching doesn't really, I don't want it to be, what's the word? Gone through and nitpicked. I just want to enjoy it. And when I'm done with it, I want to look at it. And as long as I'm happy with how it looks in the end, then I don't need someone else to say, yeah, it's a blue ribbon or a red ribbon, or these are the things you need to improve. It's something that I do for enjoyment, not for other people to look at and pick apart. So no, I do not enter competitions, although I've had a lot of people tell me that I really should, but I don't. So number 14, we're on number 14 now. Do you enjoy stitching games? Now, I know a lot of Flosstubers have different games. Laura from Stitching by the Shore, she does her I Spy game. She also is on the, it's on Facebook. I can't remember the name of the group, but they have a lot of different competitions. Also, Melanie and Michael, they have a deal where they're doing like a role play type game with their stitching. Who else has something that is, I know there's a couple other Flosstubes that I watch that have different games that they participate in, and they really like them, and they say they keep them motivated, keep them, going with their stitching. So I'm just wondering if you do, because I don't. That's not a good motivation for me. Now, a lot of them, I just don't understand what you're supposed to do, and I've never taken the time to really go in depth. I have done the I Spy with Laura last month, my beginning of May regular Flosstube. I talk about the I Spy game, and I am trying it again this month, and it seems to be going pretty good. But for the most part, I don't do a lot of games with my stitching because I just don't understand them. Number 15. what is the biggest disappointment you have had with your stitching? And what I mean by that is, after you finished it, was there a stain because of maybe your threads ran, or your fabric color ran, or something got spilled on it and it stained your stitching and you just couldn't get it out? Or maybe you lost a piece of stitching for some reason, because of maybe a fire or a flood or something like that, and it was a piece that you just really wish you could have kept with you. Or maybe you started on a fabric, and as you're going, you realize that you either cut the fabric too small and you're not going to be able to finish the piece, or you didn't mark the top of it in the right direction, so that it was, instead of, your rectangle being 15 by 11, you started the piece where it was 11 by 15. So what is your biggest disappointment? Mine is, and it's the last one that I said, I started a birthday gift for my oldest sister several years ago. And I was going along, and I had stitched at least more than half of it. And I went to take it out of the hoop to move it so that I could finish the piece. And I held it up, and I could not believe it. I had started it in the wrong direction. And I was so devastated by what had happened and all of that work I had put into it. I guess I threw a tantrum, and I just crumpled it up and threw it in the garbage. And that year she did not get a personalized gift from me. I just went out and bought something for her. But that was probably my biggest disappointment. And my second disappointment is, when I first started cross stitching, I didn't take pictures of my finished projects. I was like, oh, I don't need to do that. I'll remember what I stitched. I might remember what I stitched, but I still wish I had those pictures of what the finished project looked like. So now I pretty much faithfully, as soon as I'm done stitching it, sometimes even before it's washed and ironed at the end, I will take a picture of it. So I always have that reminder of what I stitched, what it looked like, and the whole thing. So I'm pretty good at making sure. I also take progress progress pictures as I go along, because I stitch from Sunday to Saturday. So the Sunday morning before I go on to my new project, I'll take a picture of the progress that I've gotten in for the week previous. So I do progress pictures and I do final pictures. Let's see. Number 16. Do you have a stitching group, an in-person or online? Because I currently have an online group that I do with Karen the Stitching Owl, Karen the Twitchy Stitcher. Usually Laura will pop in pretty regularly. Kim pops in pretty regularly. Catherine from Counting Your Stitches, Melanie from Uplift Stitches. So I have an online group that I'm working with, and that's really fun. But before I moved up here, we had an in-person stitching group. Its name was, I just blanked. I can't believe wow, I'm gonna have to write it underneath because all of a sudden I just completely blanked on it. But when I go back down and get my grandson to come up and stay with me for a couple weeks, two of the ladies that I was in that group with, and we're going to meet up and have a day together. So, yeah. Number 17, how do you share your stitching? Do you go on Facebook? Do you do TikTok? Do you do Instagram? Do you have a Flosstube? How do you share your stitching? Or maybe you don't do anything at all. Maybe you just enjoy it yourself, and just your local people will see it, you know, a friend or family or whatever. But how do you share your stitching? I have an Instagram account, and I will put the name across the bottom here so that you can go and see me on Instagram. And then, of course, I also have this Flosstube that I share all of the things that I'm stitching with you here. I am not on Facebook. I had problems with Facebook a few years ago, and I just got away from it, so I'm not on there. But yeah, I do Instagram and I do my Flosstube channel. Number 18, what do you like most about Flosstubes? Do you like the finish ideas that you get from them? Do you like watching other people's whips progress as they show them? Do you like their haul so that they can inspire you, or even what they're stitching and their haul so that they can inspire you to get new patterns, get fabric, get thread, that kind of stuff? Is it inspiration in that way? Or do you like people giving out their personal journeys, not just for stitching, but also for, you know, just to get to know people online? So what is your favorite? I think my favorite is watching other people's progress on things that I would never stitch. Kim, the Contented Needleworker, she does some fabulous work with her birds and her samplers, and I love watching that stuff. Also, Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot, that is another one that just does some fabulous work, and those are patterns that I wouldn't normally work myself, but it's almost like you're involved in watching the progress as they show it throughout the time it takes them from start to finish. So I like the finishing ideas, and I like watching other people's whips progress and come to fruition. So those are my favorites. Number 19, have you been to an in-person retreat? Not the online ones like the Mingle and the ones that Lindy Stitches does, but have you ever been to an in-person retreat yourself? And if you have, what did you like best, and what surprised you the most? Now, yes, I had been going for about, I think it would have been my 12th year before I moved to a local retreat that was put on by one of the girls in an embroidery guild down in California. I'm gonna see if maybe next year I can get my spot back and be part of that retreat. It was it started on Wednesday and ended on Sunday. So yeah, it was really fun. We were at a retreat center. We had our beds provided for us. We had 3 meals a day provided for us. And then we had a large stitching area. And it was about, I think, 25 to 30 people could fit in the room comfortably. So it was kind of intimate, but it was so much fun. And I think the best thing about it was being able to go person to person to person and talk to them and see what they were stitching. Now, it wasn't just strictly for cross stitch. There were a lot of people there that were did the embroidery canvases. We had two ladies that were quilters, so they had a section for themselves off to the side there where they did their quilting. There was people that were doing little shops, but I just think it was just the camaraderie that you get from being around people that know what you're doing, that know the joy you get out of your craft, and just got together for those days and just really immersed yourself in this fun time. So that's what I like. And then my last question, number 20, is if you could spend one day with any designer, who would you pick? And I can't pick. I don't know. I have heard Nora Corbett with several of the different retreats that were then put online. And I think she is fascinating, and what her thought process is. I've also heard Liz Matthews, hello from Liz Matthews. There have been several of her, question and answer sessions that it would be fun to maybe talk to her. Hands-on design, that might be a fun one to spend the day with her and listen to where she gets her inspiration and how she comes up with these different ideas, and and the way that she finishes her projects. She's just so good at that finishing that Erin Elizabeth, she would be fun to talk to and see how she comes up with different things. There's just a lot of different designers, but do you have one specific designer that you would really like to sit with for a full day and be able to ask as many questions as you wanted, to watch how she designs, to see how she picks colors, or he, I'm not trying to be, to leave out the men of the designing world, but is there someone specific that is a designer that you would like to have a full day with, not a limited 1 or 2 hours with a group of other people, but one-on-one direct contact where you could ask anything and see how it all works together? So, like to know me a little bit better and have enjoyed what I had to say. So thank you, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.